Alright, I went back and tried everybody. Randall doesn't pick up. No matter how you can try to call him many, many times, I don't think he will ever pick up. And then you try to call Charisse and it goes through to, I guess, her assistant or something. And you tried to tell them that Marcus was attacked and they're like, oh, I can't help you, bye. So Alusha's really the only person who you can leave a message for, I guess. Footsteps started to shuffle inside, heavy boots thudding on the carpet. I thought this guy was supposed to be smart. We were waiting for Valkii to get here and she showed up right on cue. There was still nothing in Marcus's eyes. He looked completely apathetic, as if he barely registered what they were saying. Looks like he wants to play a little hide and seek. Hey, why don't we just burn the whole place down? Oh yeah, I like that idea. Anyone got a lighter? Nah, he's got some candles over there. Just use those. The footsteps thudded past the counter, heading towards the shelves. Let's see, why don't we start with these? They look like something a pretentious motherfucker would care about. Burn them up. Ahahaha. Within a few moments, a disgusting burning smell started to fill the air. In the back of my mind, an image suddenly flashed back. The books and sheet music tucked among Marcus's shelves. Marcus twitched slightly, and I thought I saw his expression briefly change, but it didn't last long. Hey, how about that thing over there? What is that? No fucking idea, just throw it in with this other shit. Something crashed to the ground, adding to the noxious scent and sound of crackling flames. I'm gonna stand up and do something even though I'm probably not supposed to do that. But I just want to. Unable to take it anymore, I pushed myself to my feet. Marcus jerked his head up towards me in surprise. The attackers weren't in sight, but I could sense them nearby. I took a step forward, ready to approach the group. At that moment, something shot past me. It must have hit one of the attackers because I heard a muffled, crunchy thud. Hey, what the fuck? One of the vampires yelled in panic, followed by a split second of silence. Was it Alusha? Then the door banged open again, and a new group stormed inside. Sorry, darlings, but your little bonfire's over. A sing-song voice cooed over the sudden shouting and rustling. As if he'd just snapped out of a spell, Marcus's eyes shot open wide. The next moment, he swiftly rose to his feet, just in time to see Alusha bursting through the door. A ragtag group of vampires flanked her, wielding baseball bats and dangerously long knives. They instantly charged at Marcus's attackers, hollering and growling in delight. You fucker. A familiar hooded... Oh no, not him. A familiar hooded vampire started kicking one of the others, who rolled weakly on the ground under his blows. Get him, Jack. Go on. Ooh, maybe you should test out some of the merchandise on him. How about that big green one? Oh shit, you're right. Lunging forward... I don't want to... Jack grabbed a giant suction cup dildo off the wall, wielding it like a sword. Then, with all his might, he slammed it straight into the vampire's face. Ah! Teeth and blood went flying through the air. Oh my, that was fantastic. Alusha giggled delightedly, clapping her hands together. Try some of the paddles next. Oh, all those testicle weights. Although, now I think about it, there's probably not much there to weigh down. Shame, really. Ha, fucking nailed him. Alusha's threats of testing out merchandise helped drive the attackers away. Her friends chased them outside, hollering and jeering, one of them even cracking a whip as she grabbed off the shelves. Hell yeah, queen. Soon enough, the din had faded to muffled cries, hopefully not enough to attract the police's attention. Alusha and Jack, however, stayed with us in the shop. Don't bring it up, dude. It's fine. Damn. Jack stomped on the small fire that had burned out a square of carpet, along with the scattered broken fragments of something. Dumb fuckers, smells like shit in here. It does, doesn't it? I wonder if the stench is from the fire or just from those idiots. She waved a hand in front of her nose, letting out a groan. For the whole duration of the fight, Marcus had just been standing next to me, watching from beside the counter. Now, as his eyes drifted between Alusha and Jack, I saw a faint warmth slowly returning to his expression. You called her, didn't you, Valkii? As the other two extinguished the remaining fire patches, Marcus murmured to me quietly. Yes, and I knew she'd be here as soon as she heard. He nodded slowly, his chest rising and falling with a soft sigh. How do you sigh if you can't breathe? Aren't you exhaling breath when you sigh? Like, Can you do that without breathing? I never thought that before. Whew, I think that's all of them, right? Stepping away from a partially ruined shelf, Alusha sauntered towards us, her smile slowly turning to a frown. Marcus, Valkii. You two look like you've had a bit of a rough night. Hey, Marcus. As Jack came to stop by Alusha's side, he tugged his hood down more over his eyes. And Valkii, long time no see. Wait, you're that guy from the garage, right? Yeah, I am. Garage? Don't worry about it. He scratched the back of his neck awkwardly. As soon as I got your message, Valkii, I rang up my little group and came to the shop as fast as I could. Mr. Jack here was so worried I thought he was about to puke up blood on the way over. Jack shuffled one of his boots against the carpet, giving a nonchalant sniff. I'm gonna ask why he was so worried, but I might want to go back and just do that one. Why was he so worried? Well, he's a bit... I figured. That's boring. Thanks for your help. You guys really saved us. We certainly did. You owe me, you poor soul. The others looked like they were enjoying themselves, though, so I doubt they'll hold it against you. Wasn't the rest of your group Mavar too? Some, but not all. My friend circle is quite diverse, I'll have you know. But those Mavar aren't the sort of Mavar who attacked Markus. Yeah. Jack grimaced slightly, scratching at his cheek beneath his hood. The guys who fucked you up, they're not part of Randall's normal group. They're part of this new, extreme side clan that's trying to stir up a bunch of shit. They act like they're doing it for Randall, but he hates that kind of thing. It's causing infighting among the Mavar and making the Askari hate them even more. It's a complete mess, really. Even though she was human, Alusha seemed troubled about the vampiric chaos, her words ending with a frustrated sigh. That extremist clan is way too big for us to take down, but if you want, we can make sure those guys from tonight don't get up again. No. Markus, who'd been silently watching us this whole time, abruptly cut in. Huh? Letting them die would be an act of mercy. The cruelest, most sadistic punishment I could devise would be to let them live. Waking up each night and having to be themselves in the most miserable fate of all is the most miserable fate of all, even if they're not conscious of it. There was a coldness in his voice, quiet and uncaring. Sure, Markus, you're right. It seemed to catch Jack off guard because he mumbled out his staccato reply before falling silent. Never use that word. You know how you may have read a word, but you haven't heard it? Really? Maybe ever? That was one of those. Markus didn't add anything further, turning his head away to stare somewhere else. I just can't believe you didn't see this coming, Markus. Alusha murmured worriedly, fiddling with the hem of her dress. After what you pulled at the beach, it was just a matter of time before you were attacked. You knew that, didn't you? He didn't acknowledge Alusha's words. Whatever his glassy stare was fixed on, it was somewhere far away. I swear, sometimes I don't know what to do with you. Alusha let out a long, heavy sigh, though clearly out of loving frustration. You've got to stay somewhere safe, in a safer place than this, until things blow over at least. Oh, why not stay with Valkii at the hotel? Surely a few days would give you enough time to find something more stable. Or else you could try patch things up with Randall. He's probably still angry, but he might know a place for you to stay. If Charisse favors me as much as she should, then she'll let me keep Markus as a pet. Surely Charisse will let him stay for a little while. God knows Markus has done plenty for her sake. Alright, no complaints, Markus? Markus shook his head. He still didn't seem able or willing to offer any comments. Suppose I'll leave you in Valkyie's capable hands then, hopefully without any repeats of this nasty evening on the horizon. Until then, you two had better stay alive, or else I'll be downright livid. Shaking a finger at us with a weakly playful smile, Alusha reluctantly turned away. Yeah, you guys, take care of yourselves. Offering us a small, slightly awkward nod, Jack slipped away towards the door. Alusha followed on his heels, but just before she disappeared behind the shelves, she paused. Please, Markus. With a barely audible murmur, she glanced back over her shoulder. There was an honest, dark worry in her eyes as they flicked between Markus and me. Don't let them get to you again. With that, she stepped out of sight, her gentle footsteps fading away. Soon, the shattered door clicked softly shut. We were alone again, with only the sound of distant traffic in the distance. Markus silently gazed down at the remnants of the fire where his belongings were smashed into the carpet. What an atrocious mess this is. Muttering flatly, he kicked a broken fragment across the floor. I suppose I'll have to hire some unfortunate soul to clean it all up. There's two I feel like I want to ask. I want to say, I could do it for you if you like. No, that's quite alright. I prefer to handle my own messes. Wow, just keep me at arm's length, why don't you? Not that one, this one. What about the things they destroyed? Weren't they special? They were, yes. But they're gone now, so I suppose there's nothing so special about them any longer. Picking up his sunglasses from the ground, Marcus wiped the blood off them with his sleeve. Then, with a swift, practiced motion, he slid them back onto his face. Shall we? Not waiting for my reply, Marcus made his way outside. It's kind of crazy. Every time, like, even with Heath, like, as the route slowly went on, I got more depressed. And obviously the vibe got more depressing. And in the beginning, I'm always really lighthearted, but then it just starts to, like, go down and I start just feeling bad. This is getting to that point where I'm starting to feel bad again. Everything was all fun and games when we were racing through the streets and Marcus was knocking me about in the car even though I had my seatbelt on. It was all fun and games when we were running away from a funeral. All fun and games when he's disturbing me in my dreams, but then when he's attacked and he doesn't seem to have much concern for living, he feels like he'd be more at peace if he were dead. He'd be free from, I guess, everything he sees as a Golgotha. Like, I don't know. It's just sad. You gotta keep remembering that the romances in this are not sweet. Exactly. They're, like, tragic, you know? Not waiting for my reply, Marcus made his way outside. I followed him, leaving behind the wreckage of the night's attack. After Marcus locked up the shop, we hailed a cab and headed for the hotel. He bantered with me a little during the ride, quipping that at least they hadn't smashed his cat statue or the peacock. But I could tell that he was still deeply troubled. Even his normal carefree humour seemed forced, with a pause before every wry remark. There was no denying that the attack, no matter how expected it was, had shaken Marcus to his very core. As soon as we entered the hotel lobby, everyone instantly stiffened. Charisse had probably given them instructions to keep Marcus out, but they seemed to hesitate out of fear, or maybe uncertainty. We found Charisse in the meeting room talking to her agent. Rising from her seat, she stared evenly at Marcus, her eyes cool and detached. Why is he here, Valkii? I thought I instructed you to stop associating with him. He's almost died in an attack, Charisse. What happened? Oh, just your average eventful evening in Hollywood. His lips stretched thinly into a smile and he gestured casually towards the distant window. A few rowdy Mavar volunteered to stain my carpet a darker shade of red. Sadly, the paint store must have been running low because they had to crack open my veins for a pallet. I see. Charisse was clearly a little shaken by the news, adjusting her glasses as if to mask her reaction. For a moment, she seemed unusually small, her regal presence switched off like a light. I cannot allow you to stay. She reluctantly raised her head to gaze at Marcus, who watched her in silence. It is likely just as dangerous for you to be here, Marcus. Since that incident, your reputation has reached a new height of infamy among the Ascari. Many see you as an instigator, as more of an instigator. And just as Randall cannot rein in all of the Mavar, neither can I micromanage all of my associates' actions. Some may strike on their own against you. Therefore, you'd be wise to find another place for refuge. But he... I understand. Marcus interjected calmly, nodding at her words. Charisse blinked several times, as if she'd expected Marcus to protest more. In that case, I do apologize for taking up your time. Have a pleasant evening, Charisse. Without anything further, he turned towards the door, slipping back into the hall. Her stunned gaze remained on the door, conflict welling in her eyes. Well? What are you still standing here for? Charisse finally barked out a few forceful words. Go make sure he doesn't vandalize anything or cause any more trouble on his way out. The next moment, I found myself shooed after Marcus. The door abruptly slammed behind me. With no sign of Marcus in the lobby, I hurried back out to the street. Sure enough, his lanky figure was waiting for me on the sidewalk. I'll stay with you and help protect you. That won't do me much good, not when Charisse sends out a search party to bring you back. The eyes behind those dark lenses narrowed at me affectionately. But you needn't fuss over my well-being, Valkii. I have survived thus far and I will continue to survive as needed. Sorry, I desperately needed to move in my seat. Nor will I selfishly leave my dearest companion. He reached out, trailing his fingers through my hair, his touch soft and barely perceptible. Then, leaning forward, Marcus brought my hand to his own face, gently nuzzling the back of it, rubbing his cheek against my knuckles. For a cryptic old vampire, you sure acts a lot like a cat. That's so funny. Lightly stroke his cheek. Why not? He closed his eyes, pressing his cold, smooth skin into my palm. At this moment, Valkii, I am possessed by a most peculiar feeling. My heart is heavy, weighed down by more love than it has the capacity to handle, which these days is very little indeed. Whatever labels other care to apply to it, true, romantic, platonic, fraternal, hardly matters to me. For me, there is but one type of love, and I feel it most strongly when I gaze at you from a distance. What do you mean from a distance? One gets too close and every imperfection becomes clear. One stays too far and the beauty is too blurred to make out. There is an ideal distance for any kind of love, one I have yet to master. With a smile that perfectly mimicked his usual self, Marcus turned purposefully away from me. It's best that you return to your hotel room. Another sunrise looms over us. But our paths will cross again before long. Be well, Valkii. Slipping his hands into his pockets, Marcus finally left my side. Is this the song I thought that was Heath's? Because I guess it isn't then. But I don't remember exactly. Because I haven't listened to it in a while. I watched as he walked slowly down the street, as nonchalant and unhurried as if he had nowhere to go. The last smile he'd given me was so convincing, I almost could have believed it was real. If I hadn't seen him earlier, I never would have guessed that Marcus nearly died tonight. And no one who strolled past him would ever know either. Oh, the weight on the chest. It's starting. The next evening, I'd still gotten no word of a new mission. After waiting around for a little while, hunger stirred in my stomach, so I decided to... Give me a second, I'm just gonna look at my stats. The Ascari... my rep went up because of the dream, right? I still don't think I can do the... what I will maybe want to do, I don't know. After waiting around for a little while, hunger stirred in my stomach, so I decided to... Obviously, I'm gonna have to drink from fucking David. Let me have a little look at the Marcus route. He's definitely one I should have done last, but I didn't anticipate having to have to do Randall's for his special end. So I need... Fuck. I need high rep with Ascari to get his end that I need to get his special end amongst everything else. That's fine. I will... That's fine, whatever, let's not worry about that right now. Drink from David. I called in David, who scrambled into my room as fast as he possibly could. Hello, Valkii. Take as much from me as you want. I don't mind passing out or anything. I pulled him close, sinking my fangs into his warm, exposed neck. A stream of moans and cries instantly tore from David's lips, starting at a nearly deafening volume, but lowering little by little. Eventually, I heard only a few weak whimpers leaking out of his throat, and I knew I'd taken enough of his delicious, warm, sweet blood. David seemed barely able to stand on his feet, so I took him back to his room before making my way downstairs. Is this my free night, or do I have something to do? Valkii, excuse me, a moment of your time, please. Hello, agent. Just as I was about to leave the hotel, Sharice's agent called out behind me. The evening had been uneventful so far, so I figured I was in the clear, but apparently not. Miss Locke would like to speak to you. No. Alright, where is she? We have to play nice. Please head over to the meeting room. She's waiting for you there. Offering me a slightly urgent, uneasy nod, he turned to hurry off somewhere. I could only imagine what had come up this time, but my instincts told me it wasn't going to be good. Ah, Valkii. You're a welcome change from what I have been dealing with recently. When I entered the meeting room, Sharice rose from her seat, approaching me with slow, deliberate strides. The troubled look in her eyes instantly confirmed my suspicions. Well, I won't mince words. As you might have already guessed, I am in need of your services. Last night there was another murder. Sharice paused for a long few moments, briefly biting her lip. I will say I finished Heath's route and everything to do with him in 2 days. And I remember on the first day, I stopped at the point coming up, I think. I'm going to try and go for as long as I can, but it is getting late. The body was mutilated, his ears and eyes cut out, wires stuffed into the sockets. This makes the third victim of this hidden killer, and only the third victim whose body we found. There may very well be others who have yet to be uncovered. We can't afford to ignore the situation. I agree, they may target you or me next. You are very much correct. It is a great hazard to all of us and needs to be dealt with swiftly. She shook her head intently, letting out a strained sigh. We believe the killer regularly returns to the sewers where the previous bodies have been found, because the stench makes even distinct scents very difficult to track. However, right before I asked you here, I received word that my agent lost contact with her partner by the Sunset Strip. She tracked his scent to the sewers, but called for help rather than risk entering by herself. Smart idea, she must have learned from the horror cliches. Indeed, as cold as it sounds, charging unprepared after a murderer to rescue someone is a recipe for death. Now, if we were to send a large group, I have no doubt that our killer would easily realize they have been discovered. This person must be extraordinarily sensitive to the presence of others, as they've somehow avoided detection so far. Therefore, I intend to send only 2 agents. Kedrick, one of my more combat-skilled assistants, and you. I'm going to find them, Charisse, so this ends tonight. I have every faith in you, Valkii. That is why I'm assigning you to this task. Her brow furrowed into a deep, unhappy line. There are weapons I've left for you at the front desk, just in case they're necessary. Good luck, Valkii. Make sure you return intact. If I dare give my room's horse paintings to Marcus. I have to say it. Oh, she didn't say anything back. I like that they reference how awful the horse paintings are, though. When I returned to the lobby's desk, the clerk discreetly handed me a black box. It held an expensive-looking combat knife and a Glock handgun, complete with a small amount of ammunition. I tucked the weapons into my jacket, wondering if I'd end up needing them. Outside, Charisse's car was waiting for me. I climbed into the back seat, where my partner was already slouched inside. Big breath. Okay, I don't know why Charisse sent you, and honestly, I don't really care. Kedrick, a short, tanned man with a hooked nose and beady eyes, gave me a disparaging look. All I need to know is this. What's your combat experience like? Not much, but I can handle a gun. Alright, just stay alert and tell me the second you see anyone down in the sewers. And that was the extent of our conversation during the car ride. The perpetually silent driver took us straight to the Sunset Strip. Or more accurately, a few blocks down, where the missing agent had disappeared. My senses were already prickling on high alert as I stepped out of the car. Motioning for me to follow, Kedrick carefully stalked down the nearest alley, one hand tucked into his jacket. Sure enough, a manhole cover on the ground was slightly cracked open, marked by the lingering presence of a vampire. The little rat. We crawled down the ladder, dropping into the rat-infested depths. The sewer's potent smell instantly clouded my head, and Kedrick wrinkled his nose in disgust. Ugh, why'd it have to be the sewer? Charisse said they chose it to mask their scent. I know that, dumbass. Haven't you heard of a rhetorical question? Oh, go fuck yourself. That was one too, in case you missed it. Snorting with contempt, Kedrick pulled out his own gun and started to creep forward. Watch the back, stay close to me. He gestured for me to turn sideways, following him with my back to the wall. This is about where I left off when I went through this place the first time. And that was all in the first day, and this is all in the first day, so I'm going to do a little bit more in the first day than what I did before. In our cautious formation, we started to slowly move along the sewer path. The acidic smell of vampire blood rose over the stench, taking us deeper into the tunnels. I mean, it's probably not a good idea for me to keep going. This is a lot of reading, and my voice is going. I could tell Kedrick felt just as anxious as I did, maybe more so. His eyes darted around constantly, lips pulled back to show his gritted teeth. As we rounded the next corner, something caught my eye behind us. I instinctively jumped back, squinting to try and make it out, but it was only a rat hopping out of the water. Silently hurry back to him. I turned around, hurrying to catch up with Kedrick, but he was gone. I could still detect his presence, but it was quickly getting distant. How had he vanished so suddenly? There was only one choice. I had to follow him. If I tried to leave now, the killer could probably grab me before I escaped, and Kedrick might still be alive. Focusing on his scent, I hurried after them, trying to keep my footsteps silent. At first, it seemed like they were moving incredibly fast, getting further and further away. But soon I realized I was getting closer. They must have stopped moving. A few steps further, and I heard a strange wet sound echoing down the tunnel. Until just around the next corner, I spotted them. A thin, androgynous figure crouched before a limp body. Couldn't tell what they were doing, but I saw their hand repeatedly moving up to their face, then back to the corpse. Their other hand worked in a sawing motion, and as the awful smell of vampire blood filled the air, I realized they were cutting off Kedrick's flesh. Hands behind your head now. As I shouted to the figure in my most commanding voice, their movement stopped. Does this person look familiar? He abruptly rose to his feet, jerking towards me. The dim sewer lights flickered over corpse-like skin, a painfully thin body and a belt of glittering tools. Yet here we go. I was looking at a man, and not a man. The hollowed-out shell of something I was never supposed to see. Oh, hello. The man finally offered a casual greeting, slipping his still dripping scalpel into his belt. Then he lifted a bone-thin arm to wipe off his blood-stained lips, which peeled back to reveal yellowed teeth. Human teeth, not fangs. I was wondering when you'd finally show up. But you just had to bring along a friend, didn't you? His voice didn't match his appearance one bit, a smooth, pleasant baritone rising and falling almost playfully. Well, that's all right. I don't think he'll be eavesdropping on us anytime soon. Have you been the one killing all these vampires? How about I let you work that one out for yourself? I've heard you're pretty smart, but I have to say you're not really showing it right now. He slowly shook his head, giving me an unsettling smile. Right, you don't know who I am, do you? No, of course you wouldn't. You can call me Lazarus. But you might know me as the one who was supposed to get bitten. You mean at the abattoir? What happened? Don't worry, we'll get to that in a second. I want to clear something up, though. I'm not a murderer. I'm a vampire hunter, which makes me the hero here, not the villain. You know, like soldiers, policemen, the guy who flips the electric chair switch. Why do you hunt vampires, then? Lapsing into silence, he gave me a smile that lasted several seconds, growing more unsettling by the moment. I don't know if you've already realized this, but the true power of a vampire doesn't lie in their blood. Blood's only part of it. The true power's in their flesh. Yum. It sounds disgusting, doesn't it? You can say it, I won't be offended. Nobody likes a cannibal, but blood drinking, that counts as sexy. It's a shame Lestat and Hannibal didn't switch places. He murmured distractedly for a moment, rolling his eyes in obvious scorn. But yes, that's part of the reason why I hunt vampires. The more vampires I kill and eat, the stronger I get. In fact, I've already got more power than a lot of your kind. I guess you could call it a vicious cycle. I have to admit, I'm kind of impressed. You should be. I put my soul into my work. That's why it looks so fucked up. His gaze fell to Kedrick's shredded body for a moment. The truth is, I've been hunting vampires for some time now. Used to hunt a lot less often, without all the showmanship. I was afraid I'd get caught and killed, most hunters are. Until one day, Charisse took notice of my efforts and contacted me. His voice abruptly grew strained. He kept smiling at me, but the look seemed frozen on his face, like someone had a gun against the back of his head. She and we made a deal. I'd get turned and serve her, and she'd take care of me. It sounded so nice. Lazarus took a long, deep breath, his emaciated chest rising and falling. So there I was, waiting inside the club, ready to graciously accept my promotion. It never came, though. My apology afterwards didn't come either. See, at first, I thought it might have been God playing one of his bad jokes. When he's not letting kids get raped or giving people cancer, he really likes to torture me. But no, it wasn't God. It was just a guy named Andre, and you know him, don't you? Yes, I work for him. That's unfortunate, for both of you. He clicked his tongue in faux sympathy. You see, I captured a Golgotha who told me what happened that night. Andre ordered him to capture the Ascari who was supposed to turn me. He decided to ruin the one thing in life I was looking forward to. And you know what? I don't even care about getting turned anymore. I just want him dead. By the time he trailed off to that last word, Lazarus seemed to be talking to himself more than me. For a short while he stared past me, his cold eyes vivisecting something unseen. But soon his focus snapped back to my face. Alright, I'm done monologuing, even though all that self-pity feels so nice. I don't have anyone to talk to down here. The vampires never listen to me. I guess this is when you try to kill me or capture me, right? Go ahead. Unless you want to make a deal, that is. What kind of... I might take his deal. A simple one. You don't bother me, I don't bother you. I keep hunting, waiting right here in my filth, until it's time for all hell to break loose. When that happens, I'll kill everyone stupid enough to fight you. I only have one condition. When it's all over, you let me take Andre. Yeah, sure, whatever. Let's do it. Okay, interesting. I'm almost curious why you accept it, but I don't really want to know either. If I were you, I wouldn't waste time telling Charisse that I explained everything. She'll just give you a watered-down excuse. Then we're finished here, aren't we? Leave. I've talked too much. His voice grew colder, and he stared at me with even more distaste than before. Alright, goodbye, Lazarus. As I turned away, I thought I glimpsed Lazarus trembling slightly. Whether it was from rage or something else, I wasn't entirely sure. Yet a lot of the characters in this stay a mystery in a way. Retracing my steps, I returned to the sewer entrance I'd arrived from with Kedrick, though this time I was alone. But now the tunnels felt strangely empty, even lonely. Maybe it was because I knew the lurking presence nearby wasn't out to kill me, so the threat I'd sensed in the air had all but vanished. Charisse's car was still where Kedrick and I had left it, with the driver silently sitting inside. I will see you in the next one.